Hi, everybody. I'm John Self, and welcome. Today, we're glad you joined us for Lunch and Learn. We apologize. The YouTube feed did not connect, and so we'll have to go back and do some troubleshooting. You know, sometimes the calendar dates roll over, and if you're not very careful and your mouse is a little loosey-goosey, it'll set the wrong date. So we'll check on that for you. There will be a YouTube post on this later today, and we look forward to sharing that with you. So now, let's get busy, and welcome to Lunch and Learn. Hi, everybody. I'm John Self, and we're delighted to have you with us today. This is our Tuesday regular Lunch and Learn. It's a open to the public group coaching session, and I apologize for those of you who have tried to connect with us on YouTube. We did have a connection problem. It is probably operator error. We will get that corrected. We will post this later today for you to watch, and again, we apologize. Today, we're talking about a problem that happens to a lot of people. They're so busy doing their job. They're so conscientious. They're so focused on results for their employer, which is good, absolutely great. But they then don't have the time with all family responsibilities, civic responsibilities, church responsibilities, and the golf course to really spend much time networking. And, if they keep a back-to-back schedule during the day, it's really difficult to find time to network. And when they're home at night, that they want to be sure they have work life harmony. And so it's real easy. It's real easy. It's not a failing, but it's just easy to shove that aside to be sure that you're taking care of the priorities that you feel are most important. There's one problem, and that is that's not a priority until you lose your job, you get laid off, or you get sacked. Some bad things happen in life. And when that happens, you have no network, you really are up against it. Why? Because most people realize that think that the only other way to then find a job is to apply online. And that's terrible. So today we're going to focus on getting to the hiring manager without a network. I'll tell you right now, is it easy? No, it's not. Okay. It's complicated and it takes a lot of hard work and it takes some nuance. We can teach you how to do this, but it's a really important strategy to follow. So we're glad you're here today, and let's get started. First of all, an important announcement. That announcement is that we are shifting to a membership model. It's in order to give value to our subscribers. We've been doing these live group sessions for almost a year now, and we're now transferring them over to our subscribers. And we feel like we have a sense of loyalty to them to give them the value. So if you're a subscriber, you get 2 of these conferences, these group sessions a week. You also get a subscription to our newsletter. You get the 4 30-minute call-ins sessions, check-in sessions every month. And you get 40% discount on any coaching we do for you. And we'll provide you some examples with that later in this stream. So now, if there are people joining us today that don't really know me, I will tell you up front that a lot of people say, "Oh, John, he's like single malt Scotch. He's an acquired taste." Well, I'm curious. I'm enthusiastic. I love what I do. And for those other sins, I apologize. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. This is not about me today. This is about you, but it's just so you'll know who I am. I began my career as a reporter, then an editor, the crime writer and investigative journalist at the Houston Post. I was the first director of Hermann Hospital's Lifelike program, which is probably the largest in the world today, if not privately operated. I successfully launched one new division and 3 new companies. I've been an executive recruiter, or I was an executive recruiter for 27 years across 40 states and 6 continents. And after 42 years, I hit the wall and said, that's enough travel, I'm done. And that's when I shifted into coaching. And so now I coach from a studio office in East Texas and love the work. I've interviewed in my career almost 9,000 people. So I really understand what a bad interview is like. I understand what a really good interview feels like and what it sounds like. And I have the ability to help you become better at the art of interviewing. It's not something people do every day. And more importantly, it is one of the most unique forms of business communications. A lot of people think they're really good at interviewing. I can tell you based on my research that most people are fair, some of them not so fair, a few are better, and just a tiny percentage are really good at it. And I've taught the interviewing course for the Global Association for the American College of Healthcare Executives. I did that for more than 10 years. So I've had a lot of experience teaching. I've had a lot of experience interviewing. And I can tell you that I enjoy this a great deal. So today's agenda, the status of the job market and getting to the hiring manager through the online the online backdoor. And when I say online backdoor, it's not the online job board. It's not the online. You may have to submit your resume to the hiring authority online, but you're not going to have to go through a backdoor like iHire or ZipRecruiter, or just anything that you do online without a personal connection with the hiring manager. The odds are just terrible. And so we really want to give you some tactics today that will help you comprehend that there is a better way, that you don't have to get slogged down in applying online. So let's talk about where we are in the market today. I was just reading some information from Business Insider, an excellent resource for jobs, careers, also business intelligence. Wonderful subscription that we take here. Gives us a lot of insight. And one of the things they're telling us is that they've interviewed a panel of economists, and that most people say, oh, the new year, we have a new president and the jobs will just they'll start hiring like crazy. Well, that's not the case. What a lot of companies are doing, particularly at the executive management levels, they are holding off till they see what's going to happen on tariffs. They're holding off to see what other policies could happen, and they have a wary eye on the world geopolitical situation. And just to make things a little more complicated, a lot of companies are watching very carefully the AI rollouts and what will come across to help them reduce headcount, to be more efficient. And when companies say, "Oh, we're just going to make you more efficient and it won't affect the headcount," they are just not telling you the truth. And I don't know anybody that really seriously studies this issue that would disagree with me on that. Now, there are currently about 28.4 million people looking for a job, according to the Labor Department. That's a 10-point gain over last year. Okay, so between 2024 and 2023, there's about a 10-point percentage gain in the number of people who are looking for a job. Some of that are people slowly getting back into the job force after the pandemic. But, innovation is still roiling the markets and really clouding the outlook. The World Economic Forum just completed a survey that said that 41% of global companies envision LinkedIn layoffs. Okay. So, there are people out there who say within 3 to 7 years, maybe as late as 10 years, you're going to have 5 to 10 million people whose jobs will be eliminated. And given the fast expansion of technology and the fast development of technology, I really believe, and people like Mark Cuban and a lot of other entrepreneurs believe, that's a real number. Even the infamous Elon Musk at a conference in the United Arab Emirates threw out on the table that companies and governments are going to have to consider providing their citizens a monthly stipend if they can't find work. And that is just rattling for a lot of people. Now, in executive and management position hiring is still very slow. And I will tell you, I don't see any sign that this trend will change through the midterm. So you might start to see some improvement if the economy takes off like a rice rocket toward the middle of the year. However, if we get tariffs across the board, and we have a slowdown we have increased inflation, a slowdown in spending, you will see more layoffs at all levels of organizations. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind here is that for the last year to 18 months, or even probably almost 24 months, we have noticed, based on conversations with candidates that we work with across the country, that the time to hire, in other words, the time you start the search till you start the job, is not running for 3 to 6 months as it had been for 20, 30 years. It is now 8 to 14 months. And if you only have severance from 90 to 180 days, well, you can do the math and realize that's a problem. And so when you get into the job market, you got to be ready to move in a hurry. Now, if you get fired or laid off, take some time, as much as you can, based on your financial situation, to kind of grieve a bit, because that happens. I don't care. You can say, no, I'm a strong, manly man. I can tell you, I have seen people break down in interviews, men cry, because the job they loved and that provided all their security for their family and established them in a leadership position in the community, in their church, at their country club, they got laid off. A merger or consolidation. And it's epically destroying. And so, if you're really upset by it, take some time, talk to somebody, and try to work through this before you get to the market. Because if you don't, it will come back to haunt you. Now, as I said, I think some across the board tariffs, which I really do believe are going to happen. A lot of campaign promises were made. There are going to be a lot of campaign promises that will fall by the wayside. So he's going to have to deliver on the ones that he has control over, and he does have control over tariffs. And I am not anti-Trump. I'm neutral. I don't talk about my politics, but I will tell you my hope is Godspeed to President Trump, because if he does not succeed, the country's in for a tough ride. So let's talk about what some numbers and some issues on networking. Everybody talks about networking, and 80% of the executives say network is essential for growth. Okay, they all say that. All the conferences, yes, we agree, network is essential to growth. 40% of the people say they need to network more. I would probably say that number is closer to 80%, but this is what the survey showed us. Now, the one thing I will tell you, based on all my years of experience, and I have made a living off networking after I learned some very, very hard lessons, is, painful, costly lessons, that how people interpret how they interpret networking is frequently misapplied. It's what they think they're doing is networking. When they go to a conference and they talk to friends they went to school with, none of whom are in a position maybe to help them find their next better job, they consider that networking. Networking is to build a group of people who are aligned with your career plan and who are in a position to feed you business intel. And you've got to take a connection and make it into a relationship for that to be really an effective networking cycle. So a lot of people say, oh, yes, we network. They go talk to their friends, people they know, and they consider that networking. If that were the case, then I wouldn't run into anybody in the job market who said, oh, yeah, I got plenty of people. No worries. I've got enough people that are going to refer me to jobs that I won't be out of work long. No, most people are saying, well, I don't have much of a network. But everybody says they network. Everybody says networking is important. So there's a big conflict between what people say they're doing, what people think they're doing, and the reality of it. Networking sounds really good until you have to put it to work in helping you find your next job. Now, why is networking so important? Well, here it is. 70% of the executive positions are not posted. Reason for that is companies used to post these positions. And if you knew anything about the early days of Monster.com, which everybody, we didn't really, employers, recruiters, nobody really understood the reach of Monster.com. And then I posted a position for a chief nursing executive and got technical people and all manner of other unqualified souls applying from India, Pakistan, Africa, all over the world, by the hundreds. They weren't even qualified to work in the U.S., much less to be a CNO. And so what we got is people sitting at computer terminals. That back then you didn't really have to do a lot to apply. You would put just a standard resume up there, and if you wanted to apply for a job, the system grabbed it and sent that on to the employer. All they had to do was punch the little keyboard, and they could sit there and do that day and night. And all that did was clog the pipeline. And so over time, even though you have better sites now like iHire, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, et cetera, that use AI to try to filter out employers, for executives and managers, this is still not the best place to go. The best place to go is your network, so you can get a personal referral into an organization. And 85% of the jobs are filled based on referral. Okay, not referrals from iHire or ZipRecruiter, but referrals. And you could probably make a little bit of exception to say an executive search consultant who's working on a retainer, which means he has a relationship with the employer, that might count. But that's a tough way to get into an organization, because they guard that needle, the eye of the needle. They guard that very, very carefully. So let's start off by talking about ways that you can get into the job market and be successful without a real actionable network. And I will tell you this, that probably it has been for the last year, the biggest waste of time is applying online. You only have a 3 to 5% chance of success, and that's a recent survey. I've always looked at, the number of qualified people or people we judge to be qualified applying for a job, and I would tell you that the odds were 200 and sometimes approaching 300 to 1. Now, we could all be dead bang drunk in a horse race at a racetrack, and none of us would wager on a 300 to 1 option, an opportunity. But that's what the odds are. And the only way you can avoid dealing with that, the only way, is to learn how to build a backdoor network to get into the hiring manager. It is not easy, it is hard, and it is fraught with a lot of challenges that we're going to talk about today and talk about some ways to maybe get around this. Now, again, without an established relevant career network, where you can get an introduction, having connections that don't know you and that you don't work to build a relationship with is not going to be effective. That's like talking to your friends at a conference. You must develop an alternate strategy other than the commercial job boards. And that is this strategy, bottom-up strategy, backdoor strategy, bypass strategy, that a lot of people have been trying to perfect over the last 24 months. Okay, now let's talk about ATS, because that's been a big frustration for a lot of job seekers. Applicant tracking systems, most people, they were so frustrated with it when they first encountered it over 3 or 4 years ago, started calling it applicant tossing systems because very few resumes got through. These have been around since the late 1990s. The big corporations started using them as a way to reduce cost and escalate the time of hire, to be able to move through a lot of resumes and not have so many people manually looking at them. And with any two new technologies, there's great benefits and a lot of frustrations. So that's still around. Even if you establish a connection in an organization and your resume is delivered to the hiring manager, you may still be asked to submit your resume on the portal, okay, on their website and the application portal. Even if you do it that way, you still must customize your resume. You must use the keywords that employer is using in their job summary, and you must tailor your accomplishments to what they're looking for in terms of experience, but more importantly, value. What have you accomplished? How can you help them? How are you the solution for their problem? So when you start thinking about connections today, we need to first talk about the Dunbar rule. And that's basically a study that was done by Raman Dunbar, who is a British economic anthropologist. Who knew? Who discovered that in his studies of animals and other creatures, that you can only have a relationship, you can only develop a relationship with 135 to 150 people. Now, some of us have enormous connection rates on LinkedIn. Some of that's just because we've been around a long time. Some of us because we have gray hair to evidence we've been around a long time. But and I was in LinkedIn. It started May of 2003. I joined in January 2004. I have over 16,000 connections, and about maybe 2,000 or 3,000 of those would qualify as close connections. The others are potential customers, and they were people who connected with me when I was a recruiter that don't care whether I'm alive or dead today because I'm not a recruiter. Okay, so I've looked at going through there and whittling it down, and I do get rid of people sometimes when I know they passed on or if they're no longer active in the business. But it takes so much time to get rid of connections that it's just not worth it. So here's a pro tip: when you start to make connections, you need to be sure it's based on your career plan, and it needs to be in writing, and it needs to have actionable steps that you're taking. Why is this important? If you've only got 130 connections to spare, you don't want to go wiggle waggle all over the United States and connecting with real estate developers and people who want to sell you insurance or used car sale. I mean, it's amazing what's on LinkedIn, including a lot of grifters. Anybody that seriously entertains a Bitcoin investment on LinkedIn or any other website, well, come to Texas. I can sell you some beautiful beach property in Dallas. Not a chance in this world. So when you start to do this, you have to start with, is this person aligned with my needs? So don't even reach out to people. Now you're going to get a lot of people contacting you when you start a link if you start increasing your visibility on LinkedIn, which you need to do for branding purposes. But when you do that, you're going to have everybody wanting to sell you something. You are under no obligation whatsoever to accept one of those connection requests. And they have a little thing where you say ignore, and it'll pop up there and say, I don't know this person. Click that, because that sends information back to LinkedIn. And if they have some particularly egregious people that are using automation, AI, then they can suspend their accounts or give them warnings. And I will tell you, there are a lot of people that are frustrated with LinkedIn because it's become a billboard for salespeople. Now, it's also an important research tool, so I would encourage you, don't abandon LinkedIn. When there's something good, there's always a lot of bad you got to put up with. So when you start out networking, you want to look for friends. You want to look for organizations that you're interested in. We're going to lay that out for you in just a few minutes. But you also want to look for friends who are connected with parts of the country where you want to go. If you lose your job, let's just say this: if you lose your job here in Tyler, Texas, and you're a vice president of operations for a hospital, the chances of you finding a job for the same role here in Tyler are not only slim, but absolutely and possibly not gonna happen. Okay, so you're going to have to make a geographic location. This is a great town for families. And the only way you can avoid that is go do fractional work or do interim work, so you can be based here, but you'll do travel, a lot of travel. If it's important for your wife or your spouse to keep the location here for schools or whatever, then that's your option. You don't have many others, because the chances of you finding a job in your profession in Tyler, which is a city of about 110,000 with two academic hospitals and a medical school, you still are going to have a tough time finding a job. So you want to start picking out places where you'd like to be, and look for people that you're already connected with, people that you consider friends, to help you identify opportunities. Anytime you want to connect with people in those geographic areas that you've targeted as a possible relocation site, use personal messaging. So when you want to connect on LinkedIn, it says, do you want to send the connection, or do you want to add a personal message? Never, ever, I'm talking about never, ever, ever send a connection request. Do that. Sometimes I hit the wrong button. Sometimes I'm in a hurry, and it's just bad practice. Shame on me and shame on you if you're doing that. Put a message in there, and your messaging is important. Talk about, I'm interested in this part of the country, and I saw so and so. I know I'm connected with so and so that and just wanted to reach out and introduce myself. I wanted to reach out and let me just turn the phone off. I thought I did, and I apologize. I feel like a person on not as important as national TV whose phone went off the other day. But anyway, you want to have a message that says, just would like to connect with you. I have an interest in working in that region and would like to learn more. And by the way, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. But why is that? Because networking, yes, it's about you, but you have to position yourself so it's about them. Because otherwise they're going to view you as just like somebody else asking for help and not caring about anything else. So when you make these, after you establish a connection with the personal messaging, and we can help you write some templates on that, after the exchanges, you need to make a finesse pitch. Okay, you may start building the relationship. Don't immediately ask for help. That's equivalent to your new next door neighbor is a retained search consultant, and you go over there and introduce yourself and say, I need to find a job. Can you find me a job? Bad form. So you want to start building a relationship. Okay, I realize that you're impatient to find a job, but you're the one who didn't network. Okay, you didn't build the right kind of network. So this is probably the next best way to go. So after you make some exchanges, then you do a finesse pitch, and you don't want to come on like a runaway Abrams tank. You want to make a message that says, I've been looking, I'm really interested. Do you what's going on in the area? How is your organization's position, etc. And if they start to respond to you and they start trying to help you, then it's okay at the right time to find out, who else in the organization do you think I need to be connected with? Okay, that's a really important question, but don't ask that too quickly. Be sure there's a good reason to ask. You need to also monitor your targets. In every region, you set up targets and you want to monitor their websites. And again, we're going to lay this out for you in just a few minutes. You want to monitor websites. Don't pay any attention to iHire, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, blah, 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 especially if you're an executive. The chances of finding a job that way are about 1 in 1,000. So just don't do it. Don't waste your time. It takes so much time to find a job anyway, so you don't want to go out and do things that are not going to help you. Then when you do submit your resume and ask for a referral, just say, let them know why you're interested in that organization. They may not have anything when you do assist, but someday, maybe 2 months down the road, somebody may say, we need this. And the guy says, I know somebody. So that's kind of what you're doing. Is it a guarantee? Absolutely not. This is a lot of work, but it's the only way you're going to get into an organization, but if you don't have an established network already in place. So let's talk about the layout. First of all, the first thing you want to do is you want to select geography. Now, if you want to move up and there's no opportunity to move up in your area, if you get fired in your area, if you get laid off in your area, and there's no chance in hell of finding a job in your immediate area, then you're going to look at a relocation. So if the first thing you have to do is sit down with your family. If you got teenage kids, they need to be in the mix. They need to be in the conversation. But primarily, you start off with your wife. Where do you want to live? If you have younger kids, where do you think would be a great place for our family? Okay, you want to be sure that you do that, and because at the end of the day, when you find a job, there still has to be work-life harmony. Okay, so you want to have that conversation and make it an adventure. I know there's going to be a lot of upset. There's going to be a lot of gnashing of teeth. I can't believe you lost your job. I don't want to move. I love all my friends. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I understand. Been there. Okay, done that. And even have too many t-shirts. But what I'm saying is you can't get around the fact that if there are no jobs in your market, relocation is probably mandatory. The only way around that is, let's just say you have expertise in your industry and you can sign contracts with various organizations that may not can afford your expertise on a full-time basis, but can afford you on a fractional basis, or can afford you as a periodic consultant. You can find a way to make a living. It may not be as good as you made before, but it'll be a living so that you can continue the lifestyle that your family may be committed to. You can do interim work. Interim work usually means that you're going to be traveling every 2 weeks back home. You'll be paid for that. You'll be paid for a living per diem. You'll have an apartment, place to live. And if you set the rate, you can generally get about 25 to 30% more than they were going to pay a regular person. And you don't not take a gig because it's not as much as you were making before. Revenue is revenue. Okay. And even if you're doing interim work, you can also do some stuff on the side if you're a good time manager. So essentially what we're talking about is building your own business. Now, people say, no, I don't want to do that because I'm out looking for a job and it might be difficult if I get a job. Then what do I do? Well, what you do is you resign your interim agreement. The chances are running into those people again are, not very good unless you're at a prestige company within that space. So you have to do at some point, you have to make a decision of harm, the benefit, loss benefit kind of comparison, and you do the right thing for your family. Okay. I know some people who started doing interim and fell in love with it. Okay. And their kids were, older, away at school. And every 2 weeks, he would either come home or his wife, he was doing a big project in Newark, not the garden spot of America. No offense to New Jersey, but Newark's kind of a tough place. And but they would come in and he'd get a room because he had a lot of points on American Airlines, and they would stay in New York for the weekend and go to see some shows and go to some restaurants and just prowl around. She would do some shopping. And it loved it. It was a great lifestyle. And sometimes he would be near New York, sometimes in Boston. He's been near Kansas City a couple of times, near San Francisco, Seattle. So, they got to see a lot of the country and experience it on a regular basis. And sometimes he wouldn't come home, on a weekend. His wife would come see him. They would pay for that. Okay. And so you want to work for a really good company. If it's a real low end deal, well beneath you, the chances of them being able to compensate you enough for your time are not very good. So you want to do something where you have an opportunity to make a reasonable income at that. But that's what you have to do on geography. Find a place where you'd like to live. Okay. Really important to do that. It may be the Mountain West because your family enjoys skiing. Okay. You kind of get the picture. The next thing you need to do is in that geographic area, select 2 or 3 cities or 2 or 3 regions within the area to develop so you can develop scale. If you say, I only want to work for this hospital in Denver, Colorado, the chances of getting in the door have suddenly narrowed substantially. You have to have scale. You have to have multiple targets in a geographic area to hope to have any success. If you don't, you're just extending the reach of your job search. So you want to pick a region that has multiple opportunities, and then in that region you want to select the best of the multiple opportunities. Then you want to look for economic separation in the regions. In other words, if you don't want to, if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, you don't treat Dallas and Fort Worth as 2 separate regions. They're one. And and if you're in healthcare, there are limited opportunities because those are all systems. You basically have 2 or 3 big players in the market. And if you're not having any success with those players in that market, you're probably not going to get a job. And I know a lot of people who tried 2 or 3 years to get in with HCA or Presbyterian, THR, or one of the other Baylor Scott and White, never could do it. And so they had to move on. So you want to be sure, say, I want to look at the Southeast, South Carolina, North Carolina, or Alabama. You want to be sure you have distinct regions around the Atlanta area, around the Cleveland area, or the Cincinnati area, or the Kansas City area. You want to be sure that you have, a circle so that you have an opportunity to find a job within that that area. And it's got to be an area that has multiple opportunities, because if you don't, it's going to be tough. This second step down here beneath geography is personal and family related decisions. Those are not solely yours. Now, at the top, then you look at target employers, and I've just covered that. The ideal target for each region, you want to have about 10. So look within the verticals for ancillary firms. So I ran this kind of a healthcare organization, but there's another one that's similar to it, and I can run that. So you want to look at for similarity in verticals. And you want a good research tool, as I indicated earlier, is LinkedIn. Because it's great industry intel. The other places you can find information is your professional association directory, and your people within the industry that you can talk to and start collecting information. You now understand why if you just start sending out resume left, right, and center, the chances are you're not going to hit anything. Now, when you start building your connections, you want to have these stars represent your connections. You want to be sure that you surround the organization. When I say that, you want to, first of all, pick people within the organization that are superior, that are peers, and subordinates, okay? Sometimes a subordinate will be more likely, if you're a former COO and you reach out to a vice president or a department director, you may find that they will be more forthcoming because look who's contacted me, and that's kind of an ego rush. Not always, but there is that opportunity, depending on how you approach them, okay? A little flattery that's believable always works, or usually works, okay? And again, you can collect a lot of information. You go into an organization and you say, I want to work for this company. It's a big company. And so then you put the name of the company in the LinkedIn dialog search box, and it will bring up everybody that works for that company that's a member of LinkedIn. That is great information. And then you can go down and sort of sort through those people, find out which would be the target, maybe 4 or 5 people. Then, or any of those people that are potential targets, are they connected with some of your people, or maybe went to the same college, or maybe were in the same fraternity or sorority? You're looking for connections. You're looking for leverage to build relationships, because contacts or connections won't necessarily help you. You have to give them a reason to want to help you. So it's like going to a job interview. You're not going to get hired even if you go to Harvard unless you give them a reason to hire you. So, you want to build around the organization internally, superior, peer, and subordinate. Then around the organization, And again, I'm going to go back to healthcare, and this applies to any industry. But there are certain organizations that sell to your companies. And you want to try to figure out who are the movers and shakers in that sales group. Who are the big players in the market who you can connect with, somebody in the company in your neighborhood may know that somebody in that market, and they can make an introduction. And they can then tell you what's going on in that market. Okay. And so this is the kind of interviewing you have to do, the kind of work you have to do to get in the back door. What you want to do is watch the websites, and if something triggers, even though nobody in the organization has reached out to you, you immediately want to reach out to them. Is this something that you think I might be helpful with? And you want to be sure your updated resume is posted on your LinkedIn profile, and you want to be sure your LinkedIn profile says specifically what you do, touts your value, and is up to date. Okay, and be sure that it's consistent with any profiles that are in your professional associations. Okay, if recruiters start looking at you, they look to be sure there's consistency. Okay, now execution. When you do this, there's a lot of moving parts. We've covered this in a hurry, but you want to develop a written plan for this effort, and you got to include metrics for accountability. How many people are you going to try to connect with? How many areas? How many hospitals? And what percent? How much progress are you making each week, each month? If you don't hold yourself accountable, who is? You don't work for anybody more except for yourself. Now, you also want to update and you want to freshen your LinkedIn profile focus. And again, autocorrect is my worst enema there. You want to polish your VBS, your value brand statement. If you're talking to somebody and they start talking about their elevator statement, they're out of touch, believe me. We don't care where you've been as much as we care what you can do. What problems can you solve for us? What contributions have you made that are relevant to us? That's what they want to hear. That's how they're making selections today. And they can afford to do that because they have so many people applying for jobs. So you have to be focused, and you have to do your homework. You can't just apply for a job. You got to be, when you apply for a job, you got to know where you're going. What's your strategy on this position? What are you going to press? What are you going to try to impress them with? Okay, you got to be curious. You got to be creative, and you have to be cool. You don't want to sound desperate, and you don't want to get irritated because people aren't calling you back because, hey, they got a life. They got some of the same pressures that you have. Now, you want to keep focus on people. You don't want to just send them a couple of things and then wait for them to respond. You want to kind of have a measured communication plan. So if you don't hear anything, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, you send them a DM or something, or post something that they will see or be relevant to them. So when you're posting on LinkedIn, don't post willy-nilly. Look at who is in your connection list, who's in the 130 to 150 people on your active networking list. What kind of people are they? What kind of stories or what kind of information would they find of interest? Okay, stay away from religion. God, please stay away from politics. We're so divided in this country now that you never can tell. Somebody you think might be cool with your point of view may think you're the biggest idiot in the world. So leave that in the trash can outside the door, and deal with issues that you can connect with safely. Okay, so keep focused on your connections. This is not a one and done process. You got to keep going around. You got to keep kind of nudging. You got to keep submitting. Oh, I saw this story, thought it might be of interest to you. So if you see something in the Wall Street Journal, they have a furious paywall. It's furious and fierce. They want the money. Business Insider is the same way. So, but you can make PDF copies of those as long as you're not sending it out to hundreds of people. You can, if it's an interesting story, you can then summarize it very briefly in 2 or 3 sentences. I saw this. I thought you might find it of interest. It's about this, and you send it. And you can then attach the PDF copy to your DM. Now, some people are using video emails to build relationships, and that can work, okay? But you can't use it as a just mass approach to build relationships in organizations. Why? People either won't open it, you've got to be able to have a reason for sending it, and you have to have information that connects. but it does help you build an information. Now, the other thing that would be helpful is for you to establish a YouTube channel. Now, most people say, "Oh, no, 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 no. That's just for those influencers, and I'm a cool professional. I don't do that." Okay, I hear that a lot. So, you want to raise your hand if you know what the second largest search engine in the world is? Well, if you thought it was Google, that would be, if you thought it was YouTube, that would be probably the truth. I'm opening up the chats now to see if anybody has any questions. But so you want to build a YouTube channel. You want to maybe make, we can teach you how to do this, okay? How do you make a 1 or 2 minute video that features something you've accomplished? Why do you want to do that? Because if you set up your YouTube page correctly and you're using the right keywords, etc., when people are out on the web searching for candidates, and recruiters do go out there and search for candidates. Corporate recruiters are going to use scanners on LinkedIn, but they're going to use other sources internally. Corporate recruiters, unlike search firm guys like me, we used to call people all the time. Corporate recruiters don't do that because they think that's unethical. I always said to be successful as a recruiter in the retained search firm business, you had to have larceny in your heart. But you can sometimes use video, which is a very powerful medium and is becoming more so, to build up a relationship with someone. And if you have a service like BombBomb or some of the other video services, don't get anything that's too complicated, but get something that works both on email and DMs, okay? Your SMS, okay? So do that. You can do that. You just need to get comfortable with it. There are pros and cons. If working with us, we'll help you sort your way through that. Now, let's talk about the 5,000-pound elephant in the room, rejection. Most people don't do networking because they don't want to be rejected. And because they feel so uncomfortable when people call them, they transfer that feeling to other people, and so they don't do it, which then puts them in the place where we are today, having to do what is really a fast track network, which is really hard and takes a lot of effort and more cold calling. Okay, but it's the only other option. It's the only other option unless you have a bunch of friends, which is a network, by the way, who can refer you to the jobs that are not posted. So, I mean, you have to understand, with the automation of recruiting, automation is dehumanizing recruiting. And so if you're not willing to do this, the chances are you're going to be what we call reluctantly retired. Now, your rejection, which is where it's sometimes direct, please don't contact me again, or ghosting, where they just ignore you. It's inevitable. Don't ever cross a line so that you make people so they don't feel stalked. Some people don't want to be bothered. That's fine. There are other people in an organization. If you don't burn a bridge, but don't advance a bad position. Okay? Don't burn the bridge, and don't try to push the position, or don't be upset because they didn't follow up or didn't refer something to you that you had asked them to refer to. People have their own pressures, their own problems, their own challenges. Okay? Channel your frustration and anxiety. One of the things I found as a recruiter and as a coach is that I would always hear about clients talking about how they never heard from the recruiters. They never heard from the clients. They were just kind of kept in the dark and fed whatever, like a mushroom. Okay. And the truth is that there's a lot of anxiety because you're going to get rejected anyway. So there's a lot of anxiety in today's job market. And because of it's the way it's evolving, it can be prolonged and it can be deeply, deeply frustrating. Okay. Now, this is the key point here. I've been married 3 times, just, a lot of years, just not to the same woman. I told somebody the other day. But here's the deal. Your spouse, your partner, they can only take so much of your anxiety, so much of your frustration, so much of your anger. Okay? Don't go too far there. Don't not pay attention to what you're saying and doing. Don't overlook their reaction. And if they start to cringe up or they start to turn away, don't push it. Okay? I've seen a lot of relationships get damaged in these kind of really nasty, you got fired unfairly, you got laid off, unfortunately, and they can be so difficult that they can actually damage the relationship. Okay, so you got to understand a spouse can only take so much. Don't overstay your welcome. Okay, one of the things that I tell my clients is, look, you're going to get discouraged. I know, I've been there. God, I'm not going to steal too much thunder from tomorrow's session, but I had a new baby, a mortgage, a new car, was doing extremely well, had a bunch of business in the pipeline. I was set to have a record year. And then my boss and some of the people in that firm got crosswise with corporate on a leveraged buyout, and all of us got taken to the parking lot and shot, so to speak. They told me I could relocate to the corporate headquarters 1,400 miles away, but I'd have to pay for it. You might as well have just shot me in the head for that kind of deal, because it was impossible. So, I've been there, and you're in the house and you feel trapped and you get just caught. You get caught and you just hunker down. That's not going to help. Okay. So you need to get out. You need to have coffee with colleagues, people that you're trying to develop. If you live in a big metropolitan area like Houston or New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, you can see a lot of different people. You can stay busy. You can meet new friends, make new friends. And that's a great way to look for work, especially if you're a generalist. So, get a coach that can help you, especially if you're in a secondary market and you're kind of restricted how many people you can see, okay? Because there's just not that many people available who want to have coffee with somebody who's looking for a job. But in the Houston or a Dallas, Fort Worth area, there are ample opportunities to have weekly coffees, okay? So, but what you need to do is engage a coach who will lift your spirits. You're going to get down and discouraged, and you need to be able to say, gosh, I have somebody that I can call and just cry, bitch, moan, whatever. We call it the BMW call, bitch, moan, and whine. But that's okay. And I understand when the clients call me, even on a Saturday. I've had people call me on Sunday afternoon because they were on the verge of just a total meltdown. I'd rather talk to somebody Sunday night or early Saturday morning than to lose ground because they had a meltdown. Okay, so we're here for you. And that's really, really important for you to think about when you're starting a job search. How do I protect myself from falling in a ditch? This is one of my favorite quotes, because I did selling once when I didn't know how to sell, didn't know anything about the product, didn't know a lot about the product, but I put it together for an organization, and it was extremely successful, and I just really believed in it. And so I ran it, and people always said, my God, they're flying you around the country first class. You have longish hair and an off the rack suit that has bell bottom pants. This was in the 70s. What possibly could go wrong? Well, I didn't fully appreciate my enthusiasm, but I do now. And I hope it's not too overpowerful. That may be that single malt Scotch reference I was making earlier. But when a man catches fire with enthusiasm, that means when a man is full of enthusiasm, when a man is passionate about what he's doing, or woman, if you really love what you're doing, you're passionate about what you're doing, that is attractive to people, and people will come from all over to watch you burn. Okay, that burn, your energy, the excitement, your passion for what you're doing, that will make a difference. Whether it's in your networking, it is in your communications with people doing your search, it is in the job interviews. Charles Wesley, an Anglican theologian, the Methodists like to claim him, but he never left the Anglican Church. Yeah, that's his quote, and I will tell you that some people question whether he ever said that. I've found several references to it, but regardless whether he said that or not, it is absolutely an immutable truth. Okay, as we wrap up today, I hope that you'll think about becoming a member of our community. A lot of people, when they talk to outplacement people, it's $8,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, or if it's a big firm, they have a sort of a formula that they'll give you 90 days of service, and you get they'll help you do a resume and all that other stuff. Okay. We are committed to people. We're committed to success. And what we found is a lot of organizations were scaling back what they would pay for outplacement support, which is the fact of finding a coach to help you find a job. So that has really changed. It used to be 25% of a person's salary. So outplacement consultants made almost as much as recruiters did, and maybe even more, because they could have more clients and they didn't. They really weren't responsible for that if that person found a job or not. Okay. What you need to know is that I'm committed to your success. Now, I didn't say we because in this firm, it's a solopreneurship. I'm it. Now, if we grow as we hope to, we may add one or two extra coaches, but they're not going to be contracts like a lot of firms use. A lot of small firms in industries like healthcare, you may sign with a firm that has a big, well-known partner or a founder, but you never see him. You never talk to him. You talk to the contractor, and some of those contractors are not paid a lot of money, so they get a commission if the person places. So in our company, we're here for you. I'm here for you, and I'm committed to your success. If you would like to explore membership and be a subscriber to our service, and in the future, at the end of this month, this group coaching session and a lot of others will become part of the membership only benefit. So go to our webpage at johngself.com. There's a red tag on the right side where the arrow is pointing, and it talks about becoming a membership and saving money. And that's the point you connect. And it'll take you to a membership page, and there will be an explanation of what the benefits are. Now, one of the benefits we provide is a 40% discount on all of the coaching fees that we offer, whether it's preparing your resume or anything else. We give you a discount. The membership is $79 a month. That's it. And through the rest of this month, we're waiving the $250 registration fee. Let's talk about the bypass backdoor networking I just told you about. And I said we could help you do this or that. If you are not a network member, if you're not a community subscriber, the cost of that session is $895, and it's a multiple part coaching session with a lot of support. Okay, if you're a member, it's $358. If you ask for help with a mock interview, a lot of people say, I worked hard. I think I did well with the interview, but I got no feedback. Well, as a recruiter, when you've interviewed 9,000 people, you know how to give feedback, and I will give it to you. You may not always like it, but I will give you the interview feedback, and it will be constructive. In the regular a la carte fee for that hour-long interview is $245 because there's advanced preparation to be done and follow-up work to be done. If you are a subscriber, it's $147. Masterclass interviewing. There are so many people that work so hard to get to the interview table, and then they don't do a good job interviewing. They think they do, but they don't. That class, we guarantee you we can help improve your interviewing skills if you work at it. And we can teach you how to work at it. That class is 8 weeks, 5 mock interviews, $1,425 is the a la carte price. If you are a member, it's $855. And you can go down the list. The resume review, which is basic service, $107. So you're getting 40% off on each one of these items. Now, if you are somebody who wants to do outplacement and your company is giving you $10,000, our premium package is $8,950, and we stay with you until you place. And it could probably go on. It goes on as long as you need it, and that includes 14 months. If you're a member, you're paying us $79 a month. Your cost is $5,370. So if you're given a lump sum, you can save a lot of money with the money that the company may have paid you to get outplacement services and what we're going to charge you. Branding and LinkedIn, $525. It's made available to you as a member for $315. So it's a lot of things that will really benefit you. And we just gave you some. Those were just some samples of the programs we do. Now you say, well, I have something unique. Can you help me put together a bundle of services? Absolutely. We can customize packages for you as a subscriber and give you that 40% discount. Now, in some of our products, you can also make a one-time payment and get a discount for the one-time payment, but we also then give you the 40% networking or the membership discount on top of that. So that adds extra value to your package. And so, people say, how can you make any money? Well, I do fine, thank you. But I do this, I've worked a long time and I've had a great career. And there have been a couple of times that I wasn't very happy doing what I was doing, and I'm lucky I was able to move on and change. However, after 40-something years of traveling I didn't want to travel anymore. And now with the evolution of all this technology with Zoom and other platforms, I don't have to travel. And in fact, I have built great relationships with people here in the afternoons and mornings and sometimes on weekends, helping people find a job. I'm committed to that. I enjoy that. We don't have a fancy office, and you don't need one. We have a studio, and a lot of times when you're coaching, the background you're seeing today, you may see a totally different background because this is a video studio. But one of the things that we can do is we can give you the support with a price that's a good value. We make money, believe me. I'm married to a CFO, not really, but she's my informal CFO, and believe me, when I don't do well in a month, I hear about it. So I'm adequately motivated. And again, I've had a good career. I've had a good retirement plan. And so I don't need to charge $35,000 to help people. I think that's ridiculous. And one of the things that you'll hear a lot of coaches talk about is high ticket offers. We have one. That's that $8,900 package. And maybe 1 in 100 people that we work with will want that package. If you don't want it, that's fine. We can figure out a way to help you and help you save money. Okay. But a lot of people it's all about you hear this all the time now. Are you a coach? Do you want to make more and work less? Well, when you're doing one-on-one coaching, and in this business, I'm really committed to that. I mean, I do group coaching sessions, but if you're a member and you say, okay, some people can find a job with the information we provide you in the group coaching and the 30-minute follow-ups sessions, the 4 30-minute calls a month. And for some people, that's enough. But other people, they need more information. They may be more out of date on information, or they really don't understand how to market themselves. Then you can buy courses for significant discounts. But if you're pretty up to date, you can get access to a lot of the updated information for the $79 a month. Okay, so so that's the benefit here. Now, we are going to, like everybody else. Yes, it is 1 o'clock. We are going to be increasing our prices later this year. We've not done too much on our prices for the last 3 or 4 years. So we're at a point now where we have to make some adjustments. But if you go ahead and become a member, and you can lock in your current professional fees. So you come in today and say, I want to become a member and I want to do the interview program and I want to do this, this, and this. Then we'll make note of that in your file. And when you go in to then buy that package, you don't have to do it all at once, but you say you want to buy, you need some other help. You start off with a resume, you start off with networking, then you want to do interviewing. We will give that to you with a 40% discount on the price today. And so when you come into the membership, if you think you're going to buy extra things, and then let us know and we'll be sure to lock in the price. I'm not going to give people who buy a la carte and who are not members the same pricing. Okay. Now, the annual price adjustments will begin on February the 3rd. So that's kind of a target date for you to consider. So again, the other thing we also do is if you say, oh, I'm okay, I just need to fine tune, I don't need a lot of coaching right now, you can subscribe to our newsletter, Guiding Your Career Report. It's $7 a month, $74 if you make an annual payment. And it's johngselfsubstack.com. And we cover a lot of different subjects. And we have a lot of how-to stuff. We have a lot of trend articles newsletters we publish, and so you can take a look at it. You don't get all of the content going in looking free, but you can get an idea of what we're doing. And if you think that's some benefit to you, and we're beginning to focus this newsletter more. When you start out, you just start writing, and we do this Monday through Friday. So you start writing, and now as we move forward and we can see how to use the newsletter to help our clients or potential clients, we're narrowing our focus more. So it's something that you might want to take a look at. You get some free content now, but the $7 subscription is probably the best way to go. So I hope that's helpful to you. I want to thank you for being with us today. We have another group session tomorrow afternoon. It's called Office Hours. That will be members only. So if you'd like to get in on it, become a member this afternoon and you will qualify. It's going to be on our LinkedIn membership page, and it will also be on our Facebook company page. Some of the stuff will go up on YouTube, but not as much as used to be. So you can't just depend on YouTube for a free ride. There will be some videos, maybe 1 in 5 or 10 that go up, but the rest will be private videos, and you have to be a subscriber to get access to those. So I hope this has been helpful. I want you to know how much I've enjoyed being with you today. I always hope that what we're doing is beneficial and the information is helpful. So until tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock for office hours, I'm John Self in Tyler, Texas, and I want to wish you the best of the afternoon and see you tomorrow. Peace. Hello, everyone. I'm John Self. Join us at 4 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday for office hours. There's a change this week. Office hours is now a members-only event. We have a great lead-off show this week. We're going to tell the story of a young executive who was doing something very innovative, very successfully. He got caught in a leveraged buyout dispute between his boss and the corporate office, and he was unceremoniously kicked to the curb. He was the bad guy. We'll talk about how he got his career restarted without a professional network. Not the best of ideas, but this was at a time when people didn't fully appreciate networking. So we'll give you some strategies that you can use today. Now let's talk about our membership program. You can become a member of Your Career Community for $79 a month. Visit johngself.com. You get 40% discounts on all of our coaching services. You get 4 30-minute calls each month, and you also get a subscription to our career advancement newsletter. We think it's worth the great value. We hope that you'll consider joining us at Your Career Community at johngself.com. And there's no contract. If you're not satisfied, you can cancel at any time. So join us at Your Career Community and join us for office hours at 4 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday.